Hi everyone, my name is Tawfiq Musalmal. I'm a student at Warwick University in the UK. We're here today to discuss the topic of the learner's voice. So what we want to do really is to understand what is a learner's voice and why we have to have a learner's voice, and also to try and identify how it can actually be, how practically can a learner's voice be. What does it look like? Is it a learner's voice from a 5-year-old kid, or is it from a teacher? Or so that's what we're basically trying to do. So these are the two main topics. A third question that we'll be looking at will be to sort of identify the skills in the children or in the learners in general that are necessary to have a serious learner's voice, something that people will consider. So I am going to invite my colleagues to introduce themselves, and then we'll start talking about it.
Hi everyone, I'm Raghda Awad. I'm from Palestine. I study computer system engineering in Birzeit University. I'm graduating after 2 months, hopefully.
Najla Al Khalifa from Qatar. I study graphic design in Virginia Commonwealth University in Qatar.
I'm Eva Iwaszuk from Poland, and I'm a recent graduate from University College London, and I work in the field of environmental education.
I'm Jenna Brashear. I'm from the United States. I'm currently pursuing my master's in public policy, specifically education policy, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Great. So well, I've done a master's in innovation entrepreneurship, and I look at education from a business model sort of aspect. I just break it down into different puzzles, and I try to find the different pieces. So Jenna, what do you think a learner's voice is? How do you define a learner's voice? What is it for you? How does it look like?
So I think learner's voice is being as inclusive and expansive as possible, bringing everyone to the table to collaborate. That's our theme, right? Collaborating for change. And I just want to keep in mind the inclusiveness, that we need to think about students with special needs. We need to think about non-traditional students who are lifelong learners. We need to be really involving everyone. Everyone is a learner, and so everyone should have a voice, so they can take ownership of their education and be kind of empowered by that.
Right. What's your insight, Eva? Do you agree, disagree? What do you think?
Yes, I think that, well, talking about the learner's voice, we have to look at different levels. So we have to see how can students and learners express their voice in the classroom, on the school level, on the national level, and then finally on the global level. And how on those different levels can this voice be operationalized differently?
Okay, how about you, Najla? What is your insight into this? How do you define a learner's voice? What does it really mean to you?
Oh, well, it's, collaboration for change. So to have a great process of learning between the educators and the learners themselves.
Okay, so for you, a learner's voice is essentially a collaboration between learners
And educators.
and educators who are also learners.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I also agree with my colleagues, because I think that education is the education process needs both collaboration of students and educators. We really need a change. Our education systems need change, so that will not happen without collaboration.
Okay. I think these points are very, very interesting. The way I would define a learner's voice would be to maybe first of all define what is a learner. For me, a learner is someone who's looking for a situation in which he's not comfortable. So it's mainly to go in a zone that I call the stretch zone, which is outside a comfort zone. And it's also something in which people have their emotions stimulated. And so everyone who has these two aspects, for me, is a learner. Would it be a 5-year-old kid, or an adult, or an old person? As long as we're not in our comfort zone, and that we have our emotions stimulated, could be audition, the vision, and etc., etc. We are actually in a situation where we're experiencing something new, and hence we're learning. Now, what is a learner's voice for me? I would actually define it as trying to amplify that learning with other people who are also interested in learning something. So, if we take the example of a university, my example, for example, when I was in university, because it was the first time that specific course was running, the course leader suggested that we come up with an innovative idea to actually have a voice together for him to get feedback on the course and to maybe make changes for the next year. So we came up with the idea of actually tweeting about each class. Some module tutors were not okay with this, but some others were. And it was, for us, a great way to express what we thought about everything. And we also made sure that our voice was heard, because the course leader has asked us to get feedback, but we're also making sure that he was taking our feedback into consideration. And so that's how I would define learner's voice. So, but what we're interested to sort of know is, how does it look like? How does it look like in a practical level? How can we sort of think about a sort of model where we have a learner's voice, like on a practical level? I would want to hear your opinions. Maybe Raghda.
I think there are many ways. Those ways depend on learners themselves, because learners are different, their education level. I mean, like, you take an opinion of a 7 years old, it's not like taking an opinion into consideration of a student in a university. So we have to study the ways very carefully. They may not apply on every stage of education. Also, education systems are very different. I mean, it's in Arab world or in Europe or in America. They are all different. So we have to study them very carefully. Another thing, I think, that educators need training before thinking of any way. I mean, mentally, they may not accept the involvement of students in the education system.
Okay. Very interesting point. What do you think, Najla?
I think learners should be encouraged to share their voice and to be heard. And in the other side, educators should take their voice into consideration.
How does it look like? How do you operationalize it? Like, how can you put in place something that we call a learner's voice? We understand the definition, but how do you, on a practical level, implement it? Maybe something else, someone else, sorry.
So I think, as I agree with you, that we probably cannot ask a 7-year-old to draft their curriculum in maths and send it to Ministry of Education to show them what they would like to learn. But we can try to give young students choice of how they want to learn. So let's imagine a situation where we ask kids in school, we can either do this list of exercises now in class, or we can play this exciting game about maths. But you have to understand that this means that you will have more homework, because you will have to do this exercise at home. And then you, first of all, present them with consequences of their decision, and they have to perform this cost and benefit analysis. And I think it would be even more exciting if, for instance, we were asking children to not take the decision by majority voting, but to reach consensus, which is amazing citizenship class. They would have to listen to their peers and find a common decision. And if this decision includes everybody's opinion, then they can take ownership over it, and they get more inspired in their process of education, because they simply are more responsible when it's their own decision, and they get a lot of soft skills and competencies this way as well, and it's quite simple.
So in a nutshell, getting them to reach a consensus on whatever they want to amplify as a message, and giving them ownership of their learning.
Yes, and you may think, oh my God, but that would take so much time if we were asking them all the time to reach these decisions. But also we spend so much time in class trying to adapt to a key to be able to answer standardized tests, and so much time is wasted in class for that, that maybe this time could be found for something else.
Great. What do you think, Jenna?
So I think the reason that we have trouble talking about this is because we all know examples of when it happens. We've all been in a classroom when a teacher involved us, or just in life when you're given an opportunity to voice your opinion. But it's hard to formalize the policies. And then once the policies are formalized, it's hard to make sure that they ensure engagement. So I think a big key to making this shift happen in our thinking is, as Ragda said, in teacher training and teacher preparation, because I think what we need is a more student-centered classroom, a more lively classroom. And as my colleagues have said, it does depend on context, but when the teacher is enabled to facilitate those kinds of voices in the classroom, I think that's when we really have a big impact. And as one example, I was thinking of a friend of mine who's a teacher in the United States, and she teaches kindergarten, first grade students, so very little kids from very high poverty backgrounds, sometimes dangerous homes. And they spend a lot of time in the first 2 years of school teaching students how to be students, how to sit in your chair and be still, how to hold a pencil. And so at that point in the educational process for those students, their voice isn't as important. I don't want to say it's not as important, but it's not as relevant, because you have to have this fundamental basis for your learning. You have to have a respect for learning, for your voice to be constructive in the process.
Right. So very, very interesting insight. Thank you. So basically, you're saying that we need to teach them, we need to make sure that they know how to learn, so they learn how to learn, and then have respect for learning before actually being able to have their voices heard.
Yes, absolutely. And I think also it's a thing that scales up, as learners are more mature, they naturally will have more of an input, more of a stake in their learning. So I just think it's a natural progression, but it's a very hard line to define, because on the other hand, there are really mature 5- and 6-year-olds that can tell you things they're interested in and want to study. And it's very context dependent, and that's why I think even though we're learners, we depend so much on the teachers to facilitate the learner voice.
Okay, that's very, very interesting. Maybe we'll take 1 or 2 comments or questions from the audience. Do we have questions? Maybe here.
Hi, I'm Ponce. I'm also a learner, just like my fellow learners here. I'd like to ask for one instance that you felt your voice was heard in your education process, to make it more concrete, probably. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to answer this question?
I'll jump in. I think there are some subjects also that are more conducive to a learner voice. So I was really enriched in my growing up by arts experiences. And I played an instrument, and in those kinds of interactions between learners and instructors, there seems to be just a natural dialogue that occurs. So giving you a choice of what piece you want to play for your solo performance when you're in like 13 and 14, just learning to play an instrument, really powerful. It's not prescribed in the arts so much, so maybe that could be a field that we learn more from.
Okay, thank you. We'll take maybe another question before carrying on. Okay, here.
Hello, my name is Christina. I'm also a learner of this year, and in addition to this, I have another life. I live in Portugal, where I'm a PhD student working in the field of anti-corruption. And my question is about the voice learned. So we're talking how it's important to express voices and listen to the voices of young people, but how do you think, is it really important to have your voice heard in the field of education, especially school education and undergrad education? Because don't you think that very often young people don't really know what is better for them and what is good for them? Because maybe in this field we shouldn't really try to have our voice heard, because very often young people don't really know what is bad and what is good for them. What do you think about it?
Do you want to reply?
In my opinion, we're all looking for innovation, entrepreneurship, for leadership spirit in students. If we start taking their opinion from a young age, then we will have these in the future, in their future. We will plant in them the soul of leadership, the soul of entrepreneurship. We make them feel that they are part of their community, they are part of their university, they can make decisions for themselves, they can be responsible in the future. I think this is very important.
All right, maybe
Add something.
yes.
Like giving the learners the right to have their voice heard does not mean that they will have the whole impact on the educational system, but it's just to give them the feel that their voice is heard, and they can be involved in the process, and they can be part of it. So for small age, like kids, it does not mean that the voice should be heard, but it can be in small practices, like they can know that their voice is heard, even in small practices and
Yeah.
things.
Eva, do you have something?
And I think listening to learners' voice can be as simple as letting them decide what they want to study. For instance, if they want to do some subject on advanced level, if they feel better in science, then they should probably focus on it more, while not abandoning other subjects and so on. And then they probably will be more passionate about their learning process.
And I think this is one reason we should emphasize learners' voice as a collaboration, because this isn't always possible, but ideally, especially in the instance that Christina is talking about, you're able to sit down with someone who has more experience than you and have a real conversation about your future plans. So I know we think about this a lot with curriculum, how much of it should be prescribed, how much of it should be a student option. So do you have to take math, English, whatever language, science for however many years, and then at what point do students get input and start to take electives? And all of those are, I think, important issues.
Yeah, that actually leads us to a very, very interesting question. So, what do you think are the skills for learners to be real learners? So, basically, put another way, how can we prepare students to be serious, to have a serious learner voice, to be seriously considered by educators, policymakers, principals, teachers, and all these things? Maybe, do you want to start, Jenna? Okay.
I think we should start with educators. We should train them, give them some ideas of how to engage students in the learning process. Especially in the young age, students, it's very hard. I mean, in higher level, in university, it's easy to take into consideration students' opinion because they are more mature, they understand the education system more. But in young age, I don't think that current educators can deal with younger students and put limits for them to give their opinion. I mean, sometimes you want to take their opinion, you want to consider it, but you don't want them to decide everything. You don't want them to think there is no system they are enrolled in. They should keep themselves inside it.
Right, but what are the skills that are needed for someone to have his voice, for a learner to have his voice seriously considered? Maybe Eva, do you want to address?
I think what we should start with is that learners have to be aware of their learning process. So, for instance, I work in a field of non-formal education, or those are the techniques I used in my work, and it's essential part of non-formal education is reflection and evaluation, and students are asked very often to reflect over their learning process and give feedback to the teachers, and they have to ask themselves how they feel when I was learning this, what were high points, what were low points, what did I enjoy, what did I not enjoy, which skills I used, which skill I improved on, and this way they not only give the feedback to the teacher, but also they become aware of their learning process and they are aware that they are learning, and it's I think the starting point for being able to actually form an opinion about how I want to be taught or how I want to learn.
So self-awareness of whether there is a learning or not.
It's realizing that you're learning.
Okay, okay. Well, my personal opinion is that I believe that they need, or we need as learners, to maybe find a purpose. So try and identify what is it that we want to do. And then once we found a purpose, the reason why we're living, the reason why we're studying, in my personal opinion, I would actually try and find the path to that big objective, to that big purpose. And so I will hence be self-aware on whether or not I am actually progressing on that path, whether or not I am learning or not. And so if I'm not learning, or if there's something wrong in the path to reach that purpose, that objective, I will then make sure to critically say it and make sure that other people agree with me, to sort of have this voice amplified. Maybe the audience has other views, so we'll take 1 or 3 questions. So there's one here and one here.
Hi, I'm Aya from Tunisia, and I'm a WISE learner too. I wanted to take into consideration your different countries, different backgrounds we have in here, and different cultures. And I want to know from each one of you, what's the most important thing for you in education as a learners? Somebody would have technology as priority, somebody would have relevance, somebody would have quality. But depending on your context, what would be the most important thing for you to raise in your country in education as a learner?
Thank you very much. Does anybody want to take that question? Right. I would say that it's a very, very interesting question. The question of culture, of local vs global, is quite interesting indeed. I was born and raised in France. So I had my education in France, but I was living in a house where I wasn't speaking French, and I wasn't eating French, and I didn't have any French habits. I was in an Algerian house, and so I sort of grew up into this very funny sort of double bigger country, where I was exposed to 2 different aspects. So I was learning from my Algerian side and from my French side. And so to answer the question very quickly, is that I think that the question of culture is very important. We need to, of course, the purpose, as I was mentioning earlier, define it in the boundaries of our cultures, because culture is very important. And I also believe that we can't have a global system or a global learner's voice. The learner's voice needs to be from a common culture, a common background, and then together evaluate a common system, so that we will have inputs from all the different cultures, and then find solutions to sort of fix the different issues. Maybe Jenna, you have some insights.
So unfortunately, I'm not going to give a country-specific example to Aya, because I'm going to return to my original point, which is teacher quality, because I think that is what research shows is the most important thing in school. But if you think back on your educational experiences, you don't remember what technology you used in the classroom, probably. You might not remember what the school classroom even looked like, but you remember the great teachers that you had. And so I think that teacher quality and the teacher's willingness to engage with students is what's important, and I think it cuts across every culture and country.
Okay. Eva?
Yes, to answer specifically your question, I had a very good ability to compare different educational systems in high school, because I was doing international baccalaureate, which is a system more based on English and American schooling. But I was in the same building with students following the Polish track. And I was chosen to ask 6 subjects and specialize, and I was asked very often to find connections between the subject that I study. And what was like most emphasized is that I have analytical skills, that I know where to find sources for my research, that I know how to express my opinion. And my peers in the Polish educational system in the same time, they had to study 18 subjects until the very end of high school, and it didn't matter like if you're mastermind in physics, you still had to learn biographies of Baroque poets by heart. And this Polish education system is heavily knowledge-based. So it's all about cramming, and you're rarely ever asked to voice your opinion, and often it's not even welcome if you have an opinion. So I think this is the most urgent to address issue.
Jenna?
And I would just say, at least in the United States at the secondary level, most of my experience with that is that students do have more input. So you have a required course load that you have to take, but then you have more options. So students who are interested in going directly into the workforce can take career and technical education, welding, basic skills. Students who are college track, more advanced, can take advanced placement or even IB, as Ava was talking about. So.
Okay, do you have an insight, Rajda?
I just want to ask Eva, so after 11th, when a student is 11 years old, he gets the chance to decide what courses he's going to take? He just select courses randomly as he likes?
No, we were 15 at the time, because that's when IB starts. And
Isn't that an early age?
well, it is, and it was for me, because at that time I thought I'm going to study biotechnology, and I chose biology and chemistry as my main subjects, and after half a year I realized I don't enjoy it, and I had to catch up by myself the social sciences that I transferred to. So that was a bit of an early age, but I think also it's because before that I was in that Polish system, and I was never able to really use these skills. I didn't get a chance, or like, I don't know, job shadowing for kids, or like some getting introduced to some workplace or something like this, so I really had no idea.
Because I really think that we should study very carefully when to let students decide what, like very important decisions, like what kind of courses they want to take.
Okay, maybe we have, I think we had another question here in the audience. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, it was there. Okay, sorry.
Was it me?
My name is Michael Dagrin. I'm a Haitian student in computer science. I am also one of the 2012 learners. As a learners, do you think that building schools in a country is the only way to bring education in people's life? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, building schools in a country, is it the only way, or is there another way to bring education?
So I'm sure Ava wants to talk about this because of informal education and your experiences with that. But I think our examples from the WISE Summit show that that's not true, because sometimes building a school isn't feasible, and that doesn't mean that school and learning shouldn't take place. So whether it's on a solar-powered boat, whether it's in a tent, whether it's out in the open, I don't think we can use that resource or infrastructure problem as an excuse. I think we have to have school no matter what. But when we have the money, yes, let's build schools.
Maybe you have something to add?
Well, I definitely believe that we need schools and that kids should have opportunity to go to school, but it's definitely not the only place where we learn, because we learn with everything we do. And as long as we're like aware of it and we're able to steer it, then every single thing we undertake can be a learning opportunity. So for instance, at this moment, I'm improving my debating skills, and I'm working for my self-confidence. And I mean, those examples are endless, I think. And we should just be aware of that and be able to use every opportunity to learn.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Very interesting point. Well, my personal opinion on this is I come from a tech background, so I would say that I would use technology to sort of for their learning. And so, because technology is almost everywhere today, at least in the Western countries, we can definitely do something in this area, but it needs to be in the boundaries of what I define learning to be. So as long as it stimulates emotions, because we all learn differently. Some people learn by seeing, some others learn by dancing, some others learn by smelling. Learning cannot happen, and so the technology needs to sort of stimulate all of this, and also it needs to be something that will make people create and not consume. and something that will foster, that will encourage people that would encourage people not to be afraid to fail, because most of the learning happens when we make mistakes. As long as we know that we're making mistakes, and so we're aware of them, and trying to experiment something else. So experiment and stimulation of emotions. I'm not sure there's a tech system that already exists and does that, but I hope that one day somebody will find it. So I don't know, maybe Raj, or do you have do you think that we need a building? Do we need an environment to be able to learn, or is it not important?
No, it is important, but it's not just the place that education can take a place. Education can take a place everywhere, as my friend said. Schools would be the best environment for students to get lessons and benefit from education.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Maybe we'll take another question from the audience. Maybe here, gentlemen.
Okay, hello. I'm an educator here in Qatar, and there's a couple of things that came up, and I just wanted to sort of backtrack a little bit, or actually it came up again in this branch. So about age appropriateness of learner's voice and this type of thing. As an educator, I really can, and I've taught kids at, like, say, first grade, and of course experience with my own children, and all the way up through high school. So I think that any learner, no matter how old they are, can have a voice. But part of what you need to consider, and the learner will also need to learn, and it's a part of real life, is that you have a voice, and people can listen to you, but you don't always get what you want, okay? And that's part of learning, you know? Sometimes what you want as an individual doesn't quite, or isn't, it may not even be in your best interest, and that's maybe the role of whoever's with you, who has a little more experience, to help guide that or something like that. It doesn't mean that your voice wasn't heard. It was heard, but you may need some adaptation on it, or you may need to model it a little bit, or change it a bit, you know, to get it expressed. The other thing is just the idea of I don't know, can I mention this other point? Okay, the idea of a place or having a school building, okay? You definitely need place, but places can be anywhere, okay, for learning, okay? You have to have some place safe, though. It has to be a safe place, even if you're learning by doing, let's say, on a job shadow or something like that. The place you go to job shadow has to have some safety, it has to be a safe place for you to be as well. So it's not so much the type of space, but you do need a safe place and a safe space to learn. And all of that is part of this ecosystem that we like to talk about, an ecosystem of learning. And in an ecosystem, scientifically, everything is part of that ecosystem, even the little tiny microorganisms that grow on the trees or whatever. If you destroy that, eventually it's going to work itself up to the higher organisms in that ecosystem. So everything is important, and we need to think about, we need to get all those little pieces in when we include voices and learner's voice, teacher's voice, all these things that go on with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have two questions. The first one is about listening to the voice of the the youngsters. So do you agree with the fact, do you agree that learners at a young age should be listened to but not get what they want? Or do you think that there's something else that we can do? Like, what are your insights? Jenna?
So I think earlier you asked the question about what kind of skills you need to be a learner, and Ava mentioned self-awareness, which was what I thought, but we also need, per the question, awareness of others. So learning that your voice isn't the only voice. And as to the second part of the comment about school and place, I think WISE does a really good job of addressing and incorporating a lot of those learning spaces. For example, sports. Maybe some of you attended the session on education and sports, that we have academic skills that we need from school, but also life skills, and we do get a lot of those from the more informal or extracurricular educational experiences.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I think. Okay, Ralda.
I think that younger students should be taught that they have to share their voices. They have to give their feedback and their opinion. Because, like, if you don't tell them that in an early age, they're gonna forget they have a voice. So it's very important to start with them in an early age. But we have also to teach them that it's not necessarily gonna get what they want. It may be sometimes they gonna have what they want, but eventually they have to give their voice. So it's very important.
So they also need to learn to listen.
So they need to learn to listen and give their opinion too.
Okay, well, that's very, very interesting. I think we had a question here.
I like how diverse the point of views are in this issue, even if we are all fighting for so-called learners' voice. Some would say, the learners don't really know what they want. The others would say, give them a chance. But probably we can take cue from Jenna's point of learning from other fields. What if we look at education as nourishing the mind as much as food nourishes the body? If you're trying to nourish a child and you would like him or her, of course, to eat vegetables, which the kid doesn't like, how do you take into account the kid's opinion so as to make it a better experience for him or her to want to eat the vegetable? Maybe it's not about it's about the innovation factor we're discussing here to probably put the vegetables in a pizza or in a more attractive and delicious treat that the kid would like. It's not a question of we all know what the things that a kid would need in education and in nourishment, but maybe we can put it in a way that he or she will like it. So probably that's my point. Thank you.
Jenna, do you have any comments?
Sure. I think this Ponce's question kind of reminds me of a question posed to the panel in the opening plenary, which was, is education for the workforce or for love of learning? And I think that you educate for the workforce by instilling in children a love of learning. Because if they love to learn, if they feel like their voice is heard, then I think the premise that we're all operating on here is that they will be more engaged in their education, more empowered, and will be successful because of that. So I take Ponce's point, and one thing that comes to mind is that I think in my experience in the United States, we didn't get very good career counseling. So I had a wonderful undergraduate experience, a wonderful voice in my education, but when I graduated, there were a few fields that I felt I was really prepared for because I had a kind of liberal arts background, which I think is wonderful, but it's not what is being looked for in the job market. So I think it's interesting we talk about increasing the volume of the learner's voice as they get older, but that is actually the point where, in my experience, we need more give and take with people who know a little bit more about what the prospects are for, eating your vegetables and getting a job.
Okay, very, very interesting point. Maybe, Najla, do you think that at some point learners need to also eat their vegetables and just continue, or do you think that they have to have their voice listened to?
Definitely have their voice heard.
Right, but sometimes they don't get it. Maybe sometimes they're wrong, and so
Yeah. Well, in that case, there should be an educator for this learner to know that what is going wrong and what is going right. And here comes like the student counselor, for example, and the professor. So yeah.
Okay, so how? Okay, you're talking about student counseling. On an operational level, do you think how does a learner voice can be actually be implemented best, based upon all the problems and topics we're discussing? Is it at the student council level? Does it need to happen in a classroom, in the city, in the community, at a global level? Where do you think what do you think a learner's voice can have the best impact for the learner and for the facilitator?
In my point of view, I don't think that student council are really effective. I mean, when decision makers want to make a decision, they don't take the feedback of its students. So it's like the student council is not there. If there has to be a change, or we have to find another way.
Okay, Eva?
I would disagree with that because I know there's lots of criticism of student councils, but I know a very good example. In Germany, there's an NGO, German Young Nature Friends, and they organize kids' parliament and teenagers' parliament. So how it works is that they get children to discuss real political issues, and the politicians are present, and then the results are presented to politicians, and the decisions of children parliament is presented to politicians, and then after 1 year, the politicians have to come back to the same summit and explain what they did with children's decision. They really are held accountable for somehow representing those decisions. So I think this is a good example how children's parliament can work.
Maybe you want to reply?
I don't know, just sometimes in my university we had like every semester and every year we have the same problems because they don't listen to us. So they just once listened and every problem is gone. That's why, like I said, it's not really effective. There has to be a change, or maybe our instructors must change their mentality and start accept our opinions.
Okay, well, we'll take a question from here.
Hello, my name is Mohammed Al-Jabari. I'm from Learner's Voice last year. And I have a question. You guys have been talking about the importance of the projection of our voices, that it should be heard. So you have been here for the last 2 days and today. What is the thing that you think that was missing from the summit and you wanted to be there? That's a chance for you to deliver your voice.
Jenna?
I'll take this one because I tried to bring this up in my opening. I believe, and of course it's impossible to attend all the sessions, so it's really possible that I missed a lot of great conversations about this, but just talking about students with disabilities and special needs. And I actually think that's one really great example of learner voice is inclusive classrooms, where these students are able to learn alongside everyone else and to give them that feeling of belonging that can enable their voice. So that's one thing that I feel like I wish I'd heard more about here.
Okay. We'll take another question from the audience. If you don't have, do you want to say something?
I mean, what I would add is what was missing for me. There was like a disproportion between presenting and discussing problems versus proposing real actual solution. And well, this summit is like many conferences and summit that it's really hard to come with like a concrete action plan. But that's what I would wish to see in summits like this, like really showing like we're gonna do this by this date, and we're gonna use this and that tools to implement what we want to achieve.
Rada?
I can't agree with Eva because I did not attend all the sessions, but I think that their programs are missing. I mean, schools need solutions for like to teach them how to hear students' voices. So if there's like a program that can be implemented in the real world, that would be awesome.
What do you mean by program?
Like training for the educators, or like the parliament she was talking about in your Germany schools, such things.
Okay. Maybe the audience has an opinion on this. What is missing from the summit? We have a question here. Sorry, a comment here.
Hi, my name is Noor, and I'm also one of the 2012 learners. And I feel like, I mean, I've been here throughout the conference, and we've been talking a lot about education and learners. But I feel like what's missing is really knowing what's the value of voicing. We keep talking about how important it is to develop education, and in that sense, learners' voice is very important. But then again, it's also development for the learners themselves, in the sense that allowing students, I mean, and I'm talking from experience because I've served on many committees around campus and even in school, and I feel like I've learned from them more than I gave them input. You learn, I mean, giving that chance to learners, give them the chance to see what's like the backstage work that goes on into like putting these lesson plans and classes, and it makes me appreciate my teachers and my professors and whoever's in administration to see what kind of hard work that goes into it, that we as learners take it for granted. I mean, people think we're going to, go to these committees and ruin them or something, or it's like learners and teachers are kind of struggling with each other to voice their own, who gets the final word, but it's really not like that. It's to learn to appreciate each other's opinions and to appreciate what kind of experience we can also learn from our teachers outside our classrooms. And I feel like this point has not been discussed a lot in the conference, and I haven't really heard people talking about what kind of personal development that this offers for both the teacher and the learner. And I just hope that you guys maybe comment on that as well.
Do we have a comment here, or shall I take a comment from the audience? Do you agree, disagree? Okay. We'll take a comment from here. A question. It's a question. Okay. A comment? Okay.
Hey, my name is Macharaf, and I am a WISE learner this year. I think the thing is, the missing here is that, okay, like we have attended lots of sessions, workshops, discussions. We have met like a lot of people, but actually we really don't know like how can we apply the thing we learned here in our real life. So we really don't know how to make a difference. Like each one of us will go to college now, and then like start studying, midterms and friends and stuff, and like we're gonna forget about this. So we really don't know how to like sustain the work that we have learned here, the workshops that we have attended and gave. So I think you guys have any idea? Thank you.
I think my maybe rebuttal to that would be that this is the beginning of a year-long experience for us. So hopefully in the next year, we are going to take these ideas that we've learned back to our schools, back to our communities. And I know I'm much more conscious of the role of the student in this, or the role of the learner after this conference. So
we're going to take action. Okay.
we have to do it, Maud.
Do you want to add
Yeah,
something?
I want to add something. You all know that this is my first time to leave my country. And this is the first time to attend such an event. Trust me, I have learned a lot of things, and it's not going to stop with me. I'm going to tell everyone in my country, everyone in my university what I have been through. It's really a great experience. I feel like now I can do anything I want. I'm going to teach them everything I have learned from here.
Thank you very much. I think we had another question from the audience, and we'll then react. Yeah, we'll take one here.
Thank you. So my name is Na, 2011 learner. I think you guys answered the first part of my question in terms of what have you taken away, or what are you taking away, and how are you actually going to implement what you've learned. But so I'll go to my first question. Have you enjoyed the experience? Were your expectations met? What was the highlight of this 3-day program, being a part of WISE 2012? Thank you.
Maybe, do you want to take the question? Okay.
So it's first event of this scale that I'm attending ever, and I was thinking that I used to see such events and those big names and those important positions somewhere on TV in some snapshots, and it would never cross my mind that actually I can be among such people. And being here, I've realized that those people who are like world's leaders and change makers are just normal people like us, and they're willing to talk to us, to listen to our opinion, and that it's really so easy to make a change in your community or in your system if you only try. And it's not. So I feel definitely greatly empowered after those few days.
Great. Maybe Najla, do you have what have you enjoyed in the summit? Do you believe, do you feel that this is an opportunity for you to get your voice
I
heard?
believe it is a big opportunity to me, and I had a really amazing experience meeting with learners the same age as mine and share the same interest, as well as meeting very important people and interviewing them, and to be part of this great program. I think, this is the beginning of a very great year of action.
Great. Yeah, I really think that the opportunity to be able to be in a same location with a lot of different countries is actually an amazing thing to sort of see what's going on outside your country, see what has worked, what hasn't, and take away ideas and implement them in your country. We'll take one more comment.
Can I answer that?
Yeah,
also?
of course.
So to go back to kind of answer Na's question and talk back to Maud, I think that what's great about being here is the community and the sense of shared purpose. We're all here because we believe education is transformative, but I do think it's easy to be inspired while you're here, and it will be a challenge, and I think we need to work with each other to sustain that inspiration and momentum when we go home and try to apply the lessons we've learned.
Okay, and do you think we're going to be applying the lessons together, or do you think that we should go and apply them all by ourselves?
Both.
Okay. Maybe we'll take one last question from the audience. We had one here waiting.
I'm sorry, I'll try to make it very quick.
Yeah.
Actually, this is what do I want to say? Just a point and a challenge to all of you, okay? I would like to agree with, I'm sorry if I didn't get your name, Eva? I'd like to agree with Eva that one of the things that I felt was missing is the concrete, something concrete steps. So my thing to you is I really challenge you guys, the learners for this year and the learners from last year, okay? I challenge you guys this year. I want to see you guys come back. I want to see you guys come back and get the WISE Awards. That's what I want to see, okay? I want to see you come back and get one of those WISE Awards. Or two, there you go, two. One for for each year, okay? You guys have the power to do something and show that we don't have to keep talking about these things. We need to do something. We need to make it a reality. So I hope to see that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. So, well, thank you very much for your participation. We talked about a lot of different things, very interesting things. I guess what we're taking, maybe we could just do a round of the table and maybe do a quick sum up, lessons that we're going to take away from this discussion. Does anybody want to say something? In terms of what is a learner's voice, how it should be implemented, and you know, what is required for a voice to be heard? Does it need to be heard from a very young age, not, etc.? Maybe you want to just quick sum up.
As I said before, for me, learner's voice is it's about the collaboration between students and educators, so we can work on our education systems and they make really big changes for better.
Quick word, Najla.
Yeah, so forgot what I'm gonna say, but I think I lost my thoughts.
Oh,
really.
okay, okay. Jenna or Eva?
Yeah, for me, listening to learners' voice is like instilling ownership in children or students into taking responsibility for their educational process.
Okay.
I think I would echo what everyone else said and just say that we need a little bit more awareness of the fact that the voices that we do hear are maybe the ones we don't need to be listening to as much. I mean, we hear a lot from students who have a lot of opportunities and are successful, and maybe we need to hear more from those who need more help.
Okay, so yeah, the special needs people that you mentioned earlier.
Just kids that are struggling.
Yeah.
It's just
Okay, well, what I take away from this is that we really have a great opportunity here to do something together. Being able to have access to such senior people and people who actually are decision makers is a push and a big motivation for all of us to sort of do something, get something concrete done. And perhaps, I'm not sure we're going to be able to get a wiser word, but why not? So yeah, it's basically to use the current opportunity we have, and then try and find other sort of voices outside, because we're here at WISE, but I'm sure there are other movements where they're trying to do something together, and so trying to sort of find this network of learners' voices together all around the world, and try and do something with all these guys, so that the parliament that you were mentioning earlier, I don't know if this is something that actually works. It does, so it can maybe.
It keeps on continuing. They organize the program every year.
Okay, so yeah, basically get all these groups of voices together, and hopefully together we can do something. So I'd like to thank you very much for your participation. Thank the audience, and also I really hope that like someone said to us, we'll come back in a year time and be proud of what we've done. Thank you.